the Black Lodge. Fellas, we need to find out what this, the Black Lodge, has to do with that.
The Twin Peaks pilot provided a brilliant hook that pulled the audience into a wonderful and strange world, filled with a great abundance of interesting, quirky, and lovable characters. The entire hook was predicated on a simple but straightforward mystery: who killed Laura Palmer? The pilot was followed by a powerhouse abbreviated premiere season. We were taken on the journey and quickly learned that solving the primary central mystery would produce a slew of overlapping mysteries that all tied into Laura Palmer, filled with spectacular twists and turns that led us down the formed path one stone at a time. In a word, the premiere season was simply perfect. Of course, the entire momentum of the series was ruined the following season, when the dim-witted television executives forced the hands of Lynch and Frost, demanding they solve the central mystery: who killed Laura Palmer? And from there, the series lost its magical touch. Although it did eventually build some solid momentum after that, which culminated with the most frustrating cliffhanger ending of all time: how's Annie? After Lynch made the prequel movie Fire Walk With Me, we never got any real Season 2 resolutions. Even though some of the material wasn't limited to prequel territory, notably scenes of Cooper stuck in the Black Lodge, and Annie providing Laura with the message she documented in her secret diary. If anything, that just added another unresolved mystery. With each passing year after Fire Walk With Me, the dream of ever getting any resolutions remained just that: a dream, a fantasy, an unattainable pipe dream. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that gum we all loved was coming back in style, and it was happening again. The improbable, triumphant return of Twin Peaks had finally become a reality, and even though Season 3 ultimately left us with even more unsolved mysteries to ponder, it did provide closure to the story. Fire Walk With Me also arguably provided closure, but Season 3 did so in a more satisfactory fashion, exactly because we got to see and experience the world of Twin Peaks once again, improbably so, after nearly 25 damn years. Now that more than 6 years have passed since the triumphant return, in my experience, Season 2 remains the season that is widely viewed as the worst, and not without good reason. But even among diehard fans of Twin Peaks, many fans are especially critical of Season 2. Having recently done a proper rewatch from the very beginning for the first time in years, and having just finished Season 2, it's got its weaker moments for sure, but it's also got some damn interesting stuff going on as well. The second season had 3 distinct chapters. First, the continuation of Season 1. Second, the transitional phase when the knucklehead TV executives forced their hand. And third, the triumphant rebound that ultimately defined the final stretch, which culminated with How's Annie. The second season began as a flawless continuation of the brilliant first season. Indeed, right out of the gate, things picked up beautifully from where we left off in that wild Season 1 finale. Twin Peaks hadn't seen so much action in one night since the Elks Club fire of '59. But Season 1 flowed into Season 2 seamlessly without missing a beat, while adding more layers, fueling the central mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. The double-length premiere was directed by Lynch, as was the following episode. The momentum from Season 1 was never lost here, and was in fact moving faster and faster, with the introduction of new key players, where some old suspects we had previously dismissed were revisited, some new possibilities arose, and an added late red herring that all worked exceptionally well after their hand was forced to reveal the killer. Lynch returned to the director's chair for that memorable episode 14 in original run terms, where the killer was finally and coldly revealed in dark and disturbing fashion. The demise of Maddie Ferguson is a perfect example where, although Lynch is by no means a horror director and has never directed what most would consider a horror film, he can brilliantly create dark, disturbing horror elements with the very best of them during the long, rich history of the genre. Even though it would be more than a dozen episodes before Lynch returned to the Twin Peaks director's chair, and more especially since the thick-headed TV executives forced them to let the genie out of the bottle, the next 2 episodes were still damn strong. The audience may have learned that Leland was the killer, but Cooper and Truman hadn't learned that just yet, and Leland on the Loose provided an interesting short-term change, one they maybe could have stretched out and explored a bit longer, and Leland's ultimate demise was another very powerful and memorable scene. That was episode 16, the 9th episode in season 2. So to that point, Twin Peaks had been on a damn fine run, and it ended with the suggestion that Bob would soon return. But of course, there was that pesky genie out of the bottle obstacle to contend with, which destroyed the magic that drove the show. We still had the wonderful and strange world, filled with a great abundance of interesting, quirky, and lovable characters. And the incredible performances from the impeccable cast helped drive the transition. Suddenly, we entered territory with all these new transitional B-plots, with Nadine going to high school and joining the wrestling team, and the whole story with James and Evelyn. And then there was the story with little Nicky in the Battle of the Daddy, and of course Ben Horn's ordeal involving the Civil War. These storylines were a far cry from the quality storytelling we were accustomed to when the central mystery of who killed Laura was still very much alive and driving the show. But even though these stories were somewhat lacking, they still exuded a certain charm, in large part because of the outstanding performances, but likewise because each of these stories revealed important information about the characters involved. But even throughout this part of the show, the seeds had already been planted for the triumphant Season 2 rebound. In particular, the storylines involving Windom, Earle, and the Black Lodge, as well as the White Lodge. Windom Earle is first mentioned in episode 9, which was directed by Lynch himself. And the White Lodge is first mentioned right before the Major's disappearance when he is camping with Cooper, which was just 1 episode after the death of Leland Palmer. That's where the story's problems began, which still makes me wonder if the hunt for Leland perhaps could have stretched on a bit longer. But at the same time, everything that would make Twin Peaks great again was beginning to take shape. And while all of this was playing out, the stories involving the lodges and Earle begin to radiantly converge. We also got several key resolutions, each of which provided a payoff. First, we have a quasi-resolution that more or less ended the romantic tension between Cooper and Audrey, where Audrey would move on where her story was more directly intertwined with Bobby, and later she fell for John Justice Wheeler. We had the triumphant and inevitable return of Leo Johnson, which overlaps with Bobby expressing interest in Audrey as he suffers the consequences of his ill-planned insurance fraud scheme that he talked Shelley into. Then Jean Reno's story was likewise concluded when Cooper killed his captor with a big assist from Denise. And finally, we found out that it was Josie Packard who attempted to assassinate Coop in the final moments of that crazy season 1 cliffhanger finale. All of those revelations went beyond the conflict and reached a resolution. And to reiterate, they all resulted in a payoff. The problem here was that the magic that could have been there just wasn't there. And that is entirely the fault of the moron TV executives who forced them to reveal the killer. If you could imagine all these scenes playing out, but instead of coinciding with the backdrop of the B-plots involving Evelyn, Little Nicky, Powerhouse Nadine, and the Civil War fantasy, instead of these story resolutions corresponding with those transitional B-plots, if they corresponded with the central driving mystery of who killed Laura Palmer, I don't think it takes much imagination for any of us to understand these payoffs would all have inherently been far more magical and satisfactory. Something still felt a little flat about these payoffs. They felt almost like token add-on imitations, and less like the real McCoy. And it all circles back to the dullard TV executives. But if these resolutions all unfolded with the Laura mystery looming over this wonderful and strange world, the payoffs would have undoubtedly been more powerful. And that's without even considering how these would potentially intertwine with the greater central mystery. But to the credit of the entire Twin Peaks writing team, which was mostly Robert Engels and Harley Payton for a significant stretch of Season 2, with Mark Frost, Barry Pullman, and Tricia Brock also making significant writing contributions, they managed to take a show that was effectively ruined once they got strong-armed by that glorified crew of TV executives. And they somehow managed to pivot this back into an interesting direction that remained true to at least part of the original mystery involving Bob. Now, of course, it was stripped down without Laura being at the heart of it, but focusing on Bob made sense. And they tied that all up with Major Briggs and the history we would learn about Windom Earle and Dale Cooper and their love triangle with Caroline. In addition to Windom Earle, other interesting new characters included Gordon Cole, Dick Tremaine, Andrew Packard and Thomas Eckert, and of course Norma's sister, the one and only Annie. And then right out of the gate we had the mysterious giant providing clues for Cooper. By episode 26, the show had amazingly rebuilt momentum with Earle's multi-layered objectives, the mysteries surrounding Bob and the lodges, and the highly anticipated annual Miss Twin Peaks pageant. All of these elements were connected, they were coming together, and the second biggest mystery of the series was ultimately born, directly descended from the initial mystery: who killed Laura Palmer? The intensity and momentum were back in full swing, and by episode 27, when we saw the red curtains at the end, you felt it was coming. The connection between the Black Lodge, Bob, the man from another place, the giant, Cooper, Windom Earle, the whole enchilada. And as an added bonus, when we finally got our first glimpse into the Black Lodge, we are introduced to the doppelganger concept, and our worst fears come true on the most frustrating and simultaneously brilliant cliffhanger finale during the long, rich history of television. The seeds for the triumphant return in Season 3 more than 25 years later were all in place, and Fire Walk With Me further amplified the depth of that. Now, Season 2 obviously had that long stretch where David Lynch hadn't directed a single episode between 14 and 29. But when you consider that the Season 2 premiere was a double-length episode, which would unofficially make for 23 episodes in Season 2, Lynch directed 5 of those by extension, and those episodes were all among the very best there were, not only in Season 2, but during the entire initial run. The double-length Season 2 premiere and the following episode provided strong progression from Season 1. The reveal that Leland was the murderer was, in my opinion, one of the greatest episodes of any network television program I've ever seen. And the powerhouse Season 2 finale, which saw a lot of vintage Lynch improvisation, it was the episode that left longtime Twin Peaks fans longing for more. The Lynch-directed episodes alone provided undeniable quality to Season 2, but there were several powerhouse non-Lynch-directed episodes, particularly the big 3 standouts for me: The Rescue of Audrey Horne, directed by Graham Clifford, The Arrest and Death of Leland Palmer, directed by Tim Hunter, and the Miss Twin Peaks pageant, which was another episode directed by Tim Hunter. Which, when breaking it down, aside from Lynch, and that one incredibly brilliant episode directed by Mark Frost in the Season 1 finale, Hunter's episodes are quality, which also includes another badass episode from Season 1. In conclusion, I guess the greater point I'm trying to make here is that while Season 2 had its fair share of flaws, as a direct result from the idiotic TV executives sticking their hands where they don't belong, it had a lot of magic in it too. The first 10 episodes were a brilliant continuation of Season 1. They struggled a bit as they had to redevelop the entire central concept of what defined Twin Peaks. And against all odds, it didn't take them long to create a brand new mystery that centered on Bob and the Black Lodge. And this entire mystery in itself was, and remains, a damn good central mystery in its own right, even if it played second fiddle to Who Killed Laura Palmer. And that they tied Bob into the Lodge story made it a tangible continuation of what ultimately ruined Laura Palmer's life. Laura's mystery had been solved. And incidentally, if the jerk-off TV executives were going to force Lynch and Frost to reveal the killer, why not wait until the season finale? Oof, manon. Anyway, Laura's mystery was resolved. We knew who killed Laura, so that was never the reason fans longed to see more. It was the How's Annie ending, which in reality was the fact that our beloved FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper was running around possessed by Bob like Leland before him. That was what made us want and wish for a third season for so many years. For all its faults, without the story development that occurred in Season 2, there is no triumphant return 25 years later with Season 3. Bottom line, Twin Peaks Season 2 certainly ain't the best season. But on the whole, it's still damn good. And following up Who Killed Laura Palmer to What Happened to Cooper was a writing power play, plain and simple. And amazingly, when all was said and done, Lynch succeeded in doing the unimaginable with Season 3. He provided Laura Palmer with an even deeper and more perplexing mystery, effectively putting that magic genie back in the bottle again. All these years later, after finishing a complete rewatch, it was getting through the end of Season 2 that truly helped me realize I'm satisfied. In a word, Season 3 was simply perfect. I may want more Twin Peaks, but I don't need it. Season 3 brought the Twin Peaks saga a satisfactory ending, and I still cannot believe it ever came together. I may always be itching for more Twin Peaks, but ironically rewatching Season 2 more than anything else made me truly realize it ended on an absolutely perfect note. That said, I'm always still itching for more from David Lynch in a filmmaking capacity. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night.
The milk will get cool on you pretty soon.
Okay. Where do you come from?
The question is, where have you gone?
How long have I been out?
It's 7:45 in the morning. We haven't had this much action in one night since the Elks Club fire of '59.
And you know, by golly, I shot out Nadine's eye on that honeymoon.
What do you mean, Ed? Oh!
That was my vision of you. Yeah. I'm so glad to have had this opportunity to share it with you.
It was Laura. The glow was life. Her smile was to say, it was all right to cry.
If there's any way in the world that you can hear me right now, please help me.
I know him.
Excuse me?
Dedication to duty wasn't the only thing that brought me back here, Cooper.
What else?
Windom Earle.
Do you see cream corn on that plate? No.
Deliver the message. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, I do.
You're insane.
I'm insane. Oh, I'm Audrey Horne and I get what I want.
Later in the morning, Cooper.
Just you.
So, what did this giant sound like, huh? I mean, do you have a big booming voice or what?
No, he spoke softly, distinctly.
And you gave him the beans you were supposed to use to buy a cow.
Good thing you guys can't keep a secret.
There's the one-armer now. Since when is selling shoes against the law?
Cooper, you remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua.
Bob requires a human host. He feeds on fear and the pleasures.
Hey, look here, Buster. You just watch it.
Since the moment we met, I have been strangely attracted to you.
You just better get the hell out of here, mister.
It is happening again.
I'm so sorry.
As your attorney, your friend, and your brother, I strongly suggest that you get yourself a better lawyer.
Pileated woodpecker. Outstanding.
I know that gum. I used to chew it when I was a kid. That's my most favorite gum in the world.
That gum you like is going to come back in style.
I guess I kinda sorta did. I have this thing for knives.
Just like what happened to you in Pittsburgh that time. Huh, Cooper?
Oh, God, have mercy on me. What have I done? What have I done?
I'll always consider you my friend.
Friendship is the foundation of any lasting relationship.
It's nice to be quoted accurately.
Have you ever heard of the White Lodge?
The White Lodge?
Nicky, this is Deputy Andy. How do you do, young fella?
Hi.
There, you will meet your own shadow self. My people call it the dweller on the threshold. The dweller on the threshold.
Catch anything?
I hope not.
Oh, catch anything,
Oh.
That property is called Dead Dog Farm, and it's worse than it sounds.
What is it?
A puzzle. No one ever really stays there long.
When can I see it?
And today, this story applies to this woman's this young girl's right to compete, in addition to it being her moral and constitutional right.
Might this have something to do with a place called the White Lodge?
It's classified.
Special Agent Denise Bryson, Drug Enforcement Agency. This is a very good friend of mine, Audrey Horn.
They have women agents?
More or less.
Damn. Or at the very least, homicidal in the first degree. Andy, we got to find out what happened to his parents.
Is this meant for the soul? My soul?
Sean, what? Take a look at this. You order any food?
No.
Love isn't wrong, James.
Windom Earle went mad, institutionalized until his recent escape.
So why is he after you?
Caroline was Windom Earle's wife.
Mr. Mayor, put the gun down.
Anybody that moves, I'll blast her into kingdom come. And the hippie, too. We decided to adopt a child.
No. No. No.
My God, you set me up!
Windom. Windom Earle.
Leo the lion.
Now, I want you to help me.
I got all the way to the district finals at Knife River, only to find out the airplane slam is illegal.
I'm not going to jail. I can't.
Put it down, Josie.
Ernie?
Put it down! Coop! What happened to Josie?
I mean, there isn't a stalemate game on Earth that you don't lose at least a few foot soldiers.
I would bring all the world leaders together, make them form a circle and join hands. Because you can't make a fist holding hands.
It's all right. Give him a kiss.
A kiss.
Come on. Attaboy. Come on.
Hello there, little pilgrim.
Gordon, there's some curious linkages here.
The word linkage reminds me of sausage. Never cared much for the links, preferred the patties. But breakfast is a real good idea.
Would you like some pie?
Massive quantities and a glass of water, sweetheart. My socks are on fire.
I have no idea where this will lead us, but I have a definite feeling it will be a place both wonderful and strange.
The Dugpas have many names for it, but chief among them is the Black Lodge.
The Black Lodge.
Fellas, we need to find out what this, the Black Lodge, has to do with that.
What do you fear most in the world?
The possibility that love is not enough.
There are many cures for a broken heart, but nothing quite like a trout's leap in the moonlight.
The cave painting is not only an invitation, it is also a map. A map to the Black Lodge.
What exactly are we celebrating with us all bending over like this?
ever question the vision of your choreographer.
My God, Lucy, I'm so honored you made this decision. And I promise I'll be a great father.
So what, you bring your whole family?
He got Annie. Bastard, he won't get half a mile from here. I'll get him.
Grand Theft Auto. The log lady stole my truck.
Take a look at that. 12 rainbow trout.
What are you trying to do to this family?
Daddy! You're my daddy. You're my daddy. You're my daddy.
Oh, what kept us, Heidi? Second son knock course this morning?
I couldn't get my car started.
Too busy jump starting the old man.
Again.
Cool. How's Annie? How's Annie? How's Annie?
I'll see you again in 25 years. Meanwhile,
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.